This is Battlefield 5. We're here on Xbox Series S taking a look at this, I guess you would call it fifth main entry in the Battlefield series, even though there have been numerous other Battlefields, but this is V, Battlefield V. So, yeah, I thought instead of showing off, like, there's single-player war stories, which are like these little mini, slices of life kind of story things for the series. They're not too long. I thought instead of just showing off like a brief minute or two of that, we would just jump into the multiplayer, because I'm not sure too many people care about them. Like, they're okay, they're fine, but like, meh. Yeah. So what are we getting here on the Series S? Well, we are getting a dynamic 1080p, which basically should be locked the whole time through, 60 FPS, and yeah. It's kind of a neat visual experience across a number of maps. This one never really quite hit its full potential. I did not want that. Where is my actual gun? I was trying to... I've switched glasses, that's great. But anyways, it's one that never really hit its full potential because, well, it didn't really have a lot of people playing it. They did like one big update thing for it. And then they were just like, we're done with this. And then they moved on to 2042 there and other stuff. I did not want to get in the tank. So that's interesting. And now I think at this point there's probably a few more people going back and taking a look at it because they're like, oh, maybe we should have played this. And whatever. That aspect, don't really care. But talking about the game and what it provides. So basically they went a little bit more mechanical for some of the things like reviving or getting in stuff, and they adjusted some class elements. The multiplayer largely revolves around playing breakthrough, where you're pushing through different objectives. There's grand operations, which does that on a bigger scale, and then there's like conquest, which is where you're taking like flag positions over a map. Now, there are other modes you could play, like some smaller deathmatch type things. Your mileage will vary, but usually I just play Breakthrough. And this is a whole World War II, more modern take on that aspect. And I say more modern because, in the Battlefield franchise, there's been a lot of World War II titles, and this is the most recent attempt at those outside of, like, I guess you would say, the Portal in 2042 at the current point in time. So this one also plays very similarly to Battlefield 1, if you're not familiar with that title. So that is a really close counterpart where the gameplay, mechanics, and stuff are very, very similar between the two. This one just being a little bit of an evolution on some of the stuff there, and with fresh locations and maps. Now, what was also neat about these Battlefield titles, 1 and 5, and we'll have a separate one for looking at Battlefield 1 as well, is that they tried to do some different fronts that we don't normally see in these war experiences, and I always thought that was kind of intriguing. You get to fight across some different locations. There's a variety of things from more open, like countryside type scenarios, to dense cities, to, all kinds of stuff with 64-player multiplayer action. It all runs fluidly fine, and yeah, it does look pretty good. Again, coming from a scenario, if you've seen my other, like, similar DICE type stuff, where I'm coming from the Series X, the 1X, I'm used to like that 4K presentation, so coming here and seeing 1080p is a significant like fidelity drop for me. It's not perfectly sharp and stuff like that. You can tell it's a little softer than the other consoles are, but at the same time, this looks really good, all things considered. I thought it might look a little worse, but no, we've actually got a fairly visually impressive experience going on here. If you want to come in and visit this one, it's not too bad. I kind of like it. It's very easygoing, fun, engaging multiplayer action that you can enjoy if you're a fan of the Battlefield titles. 5 is kind of an enjoyable one. I do wish that we could have seen some sort of, FPS boost applied here, but the Series S missed out on that, sadly. Somehow that's just how it goes. Oh, and look, we've got a victory, so let's jump into that next match, I suppose, for some more action. But yeah, we're continuing our battle here. We have a new map scenario and setup, so this one is actually quite cool, because again, different fronts and whatnot. It's got like a really sort of like hazy sunburnt element to it and aesthetic, which is kind of neat. So yeah, and also a very different map layout, so the maps go from like really, I want to say, flatlands to hilled areas. You get a lot here. And then there's like a neat sense of destruction too. Not like insane destruction, but buildings crumble, things break down. It's exhilarating at times, especially with how things crumble. And with it being something that is focused within the Battlefield series, you know, obviously there's not only infantry gameplay, there are vehicles, there are, you know, kind of like tanks and jeeps and things. And then there's artillery you can use, and then there's also, well, I don't know, could you call it artillery? It's like, there's like howitzers and stuff. Depends on what you define it as. And then, you know, we've also got things such as like planes, and those fly over, and then there's, if you're doing like these big operation things, there's like, you know, different bigger type things that come in and stuff. It's quite neat. There's a lot going on here. You can have a lot of fun. You can play through a lot of different scenarios, battling, enjoying the action. You get a great sense of scale within this world. It's kind of fun. I think we still have a full match. I don't know. Usually a lot of people between rounds will dip and they'll go for like a different map they want to play on. Because, you know, everybody's got their favorites. It's usually like Metro's a big draw on this one and stuff like that, which makes sense. But yeah, it's just got some intense action. Classes still play somewhat of a role. I was talking about that a little bit prior, but you know, classes still do their own thing. They got my medic stuff going on. There's also this really snazzy sort of like building mechanic to it that's kind of fun. You can like create little defensive points. These maps aren't, well, this map's not the best for it, but there are a number of other levels where you can actually build like real fortifications and stuff that can make a huge difference to what's going on in your experience. So, you know, you might find that to be kind of a cool mechanic. I did really like that. So the big DLC that they kind of released for this one was a bit of like a Pacific front. So you do get like Iwo Jima and stuff like that. So that one has some really cool like building type stuff you can do, if you like that. It's not, you know, like really intense building, but it's a little bit more present than it is on some of the other maps where you're fixing windows. On that one, you're like actually helping to fortify like base scenarios that are getting like bombed, and you know, the beaches look really nice and stuff on that one in general. I think, you know, you can look at this game and be like, it's quite gorgeous, even with the lower res present here on the Series S. It still is like a really good looking game, and I think that's kind of nice because it just helps with, you know, legacy and preservation of this one, so you can keep playing it and enjoying what it has to offer. You know, as long as people keep playing it, right? That's the biggest thing, and I think it did get a bit of a resurgence after the whole 2042 scenario, because that's when we're, you know, recording this as, and I'm sure some stuff ages in regards to what I mentioned, and who knows what happens down the road. But, yeah, this one was... Oh, they also tried... I guess I should mention that too, because I can't play this and not mention this. The really pitifully... reception-wise, I think it was like Firebase, Fire something. I don't know, they half-assingly tried to throw in a battle royale into this one, and it just crashed and burned. Like, you know, there was a lot of competition at the time. There's even more competition now. And it wasn't like a standalone. They baked it into this, so it was already having trouble keeping players. And then maybe it's Firestorm? Yeah, it was already having trouble keeping players, and then they tried to throw in a battle royale randomly, and it was, in my opinion, it was never very good. And, you know, I think that opinion can kind of stick for the fact that, well, no one plays it anymore. So, yeah, keep that in mind. That's another whole area of the game. You almost forget about it, right? So they did do the big update, and then they just kind of left it. Because the thing was, like, it didn't get the best reception ahead of launch, and a lot of that was due to the response from basically, I guess, DICE and their representatives against the community. There was a lot of negativity and stuff there, and I'm not sure, you know, everybody kind of appreciated that, so that caused some problems, and then it kind of snowballed, and then people weren't playing this, and then, you know, they did the one update, and it didn't really get players back, and they didn't do anything past that, and you know, eventually it just kind of was like, you know, it's as complete as it's gonna get. But it does have, you know, varied content, varied locations, that typical trademark sort of Battlefield style to it. So you can come in here and you can have a lot of fun doing these like big battle scenarios, and there's still active players, you know, healthy Lobby sizes all times of the day, it seems, at this point, so that's good. And then if you want to do the campaign stuff, you know, obviously you can jump in there and do those war stories. So you've got a variety of things. There's a little bit of single player if that's something you want to do. And in the long term, if that's the only thing you can do, you know, that's there. Multiplayer-wise, you can still enjoy the epic large-scale action. Across the different fronts, work towards unlocking lots of different items, working together as a squad, battling away at your enemy foes, and advancing on the battlefield in this action-packed experience. And like I mentioned, you know, to me, this one and Battlefield 1 feel very, very similar. So maybe you've never tried Battlefield 1. You want to give this one a whirl. You know, or what? Yeah, you play Battlefield 1, you never given this one a whirl. You want to. It should feel similar. You played this, you're kind of curious about Battlefield 1, you can go play that one and take a look at it, and you'd be like, okay, it's very similar. At least that's how I feel. You know, some people are like, oh, this is way better than this one, and I'm like, yeah, they're the same thing, basically. To me, just World War I, World War II, that's about it. It is decently authentic to the era, you know, decently. And it just offers a lot of different ways to battle and play. I don't really have much more context to add other than that. You go in, you battle, you fight, there's squad building, some customization stuff. And it's just conflicts across the different, more unique fronts of World War II. And that's the biggest thing to take away from this one. Plays good, looks fine, handles well on the Series S. We'll have other showcases of, you know, this franchise on the channel as well. Whether that's on Series X or Series S. Maybe even some legacy stuff too, I believe. To a degree, and I guess just enjoy some more of the gameplay to get a further idea how everything here is running and how it's looking. So yeah, there you go.
Then push forward into the next.
Halt still! Ich bin ja da! Da bist du ja wieder! Granate! Komm, ich krieg dich wieder hin!